Hello, all of you. So, thank you for the nice for the nice introduction, and thank you for the invitation. It was really a pleasure for me and also for my students to visit the last ThingsCon. So I had some thoughts, and when I prepared this talk here, I had a glimpse to the program, and then I thought by myself, oh my God, second half of second day, a lot of great speakers before me, a lot of designers, by the way. So this is different from the year before, and so what the hell I can tell them what they did not hear the whole day through long. And I thought that I only have a chance when I give like a kind of shift of perspective. So I tell them something new, maybe. And in this case, as the Internet of Things, anyways, new means something maybe weird. So let's talk about something weird. So when we talk about the IoT, so let's pretend we are the IoT. So let's not talk about products or connected things or users or whatsoever. Let's just think for the next 20 minutes. So let's think we are the IoT, and let's think that resistance is futile. So to imagine this, let's think about the human being itself. So it's always worthwhile, whenever a new tendency or a new technology arises, it's worthwhile to think, to rethink, what do we know about, well, technology, yes, we heard a lot about that. What do we know about human beings? And this is what one of my favorite things is in the UX lab at the University of Applied Sciences, Darmstadt. There's one interesting philosophy directly connected to the Internet of Things. We tended to forget. It's the philosophy of embodiment. It's 25 years old, but it became new topicality in the last years. So what does it mean, embodiment? Okay, so the philosophy of embodiment sees the mind itself per se as something expanded into the body. So our body is expanded, our mind is expanded, so sometimes our body as well, but okay, that's another story. Our mind is expanded to the body. So this means our mind is the body. Our body, for instance, is essential for being self-aware. So I decided for this picture of a little baby clapping its hand. So they do that to prove that they are there, that they have a self, that they are a human being. And we tend to give ourselves proofs that we are existing day by day, for instance, doing selfies and so on. But it's even more. So in the philosophy of embodiment, it's not only the mind expanded to the body. We need the interaction with objects as well. And we need it to think. And that's interesting. So the truth is, if there weren't objects in our life, we could not think, because our thinking is very much conceptualized. We are not able to think in an abstract way. So, and this is to prove this. Think about your language. For instance, take the term integration. So integration, what's that? It's pretty abstract, but so it's like it's like an object with an inside and an outside, and everything that you want to put in, you integrate, and everything what you don't want to have, you, well, externalize maybe. I don't know if this term ever exists in English. Or think about very abstract things like time. It is not abstract because we cannot think about abstract things. Time passing by, for instance, is like we are in a car and there is something, we name it time. Yeah, and we are driving and the time passes by. And when we are very quick, the time passes by quickly, for instance. Sorry. So we need, we not only need the material world, so the material world is directly connected to our mind. There is a synergy. So that in the philosophy of embodiment, so they are so frankly to say that our mind is not only expanded to our body, but to objects as well. One minor thing to add. So our mind is not only expanded to our body, but to our movement as well. So as I said, we need to interact with objects to think, to be able to think. We do this with movements and gestures, and we can only interact if we do this. And the astonishing thing is in neuroscience, we know that we can remember things better when we move parallelly to when we transfer or receive this information. And this maybe gives you some insight how important, we heard a very nice talk from Tina Espina yesterday, and she said it's important, so it would be interesting to have more senses integrated into the Internet of Things. And this is exactly the reason we think with our sensual capacities, and our whole body and the movement are cognitive devices. We can talk about an embodied mind, and we can talk about that the whole world is our mind. Okay, so if you shortly would accept this, I would be very grateful. So then I can step to the next point. What do we do with our embodied mind now? Unfortunately, we are in the virtual world. So there is good news. There has been a kind of development in history. So. Yes, there is the virtual world, but we found the way back to the real world. So there have been some steps necessary. For instance, so we started into the digital world with the command line interfaces. So we thought, okay, the digital world it's code, so let's present the code. But this didn't work very well, as we all know. So then we thought, okay, let's depict the world. Maybe that's the solution. So, and maybe the older of you, they remember the horrible interfaces of, in Germany we had this very nice banking platforms showing an entrance, a nice entrance with signs for information to guide the user. This was not a good idea, so the next step was simulating the world. So where some guys take this track and don't come back to reality. This is like, do you remember Second Life? Currently it's Oculus Rift, for instance, or the holodeck. Yes, the dream of the holodeck is so the dream that we can really simulate life. But we only dream of simulating life because we really need objects, be they virtual or real. So the next step is we thought, okay, let's go back and have this mental model. So pretend as if we are in the real world, although we are in the virtual. Next step has been, okay, get rid of this bloody computer. So let it disappear. Let's have the ubiquitous computing. So we had, we slightly come to an end of this parabolic journey. So we had the tangible media, and so the current last stage is the Internet of Things. So hooray, we are back in reality with the Internet of Things. So where it is the world where we belong. So the question is, okay, IoT, and now, what's now? So do we have the chance to do it better now? Are we riper now? What did we learn from our journey through the virtual world? Did we learn anything? Remember embodiment. Yeah? So remember, we have an expanded mind, and the mind is expanded to our body and the objects surrounding us, which means the whole world. So our mind is connected to the world. I was too quick. So if we had an expanded mind, so this would mean that this mind is part of the whole. And this would mean that this mind is cross-linked with all. And this gives you maybe like a kind of metaphor, the idea of Pandora. I told you it's going to be weird, right? So Pandora is, maybe you know Pandora. It's, I mean not the box of Pandora. I mean the Pandora of James Cameron's Avatar, which is a citation of Gaia, the Greek idea about the whole spamming Mother Earth. The idea of Pandora is that we all are part of this world. So this means, you cited when yesterday there was a discussion about the conduct of IoT. So there was I think the citation was the things are beings as well. So it's pretty much close the same idea. So the idea of Pandora is that take the IoT as a universe, as a world, and take us, and learn that we are the same, so that we are all corresponding to each other. Of course, when you think like this, of course designers have serious responsibility to add parts to this biosystem. And of course there are some, this might be one possible storytelling explanation for the question, so what should these parts be able to do? Yesterday we had the question, I think it was in the question, so what should about what should the things inform myself? So think about a part as being a part of my body, like a second liver. Maybe the one or the other need a second liver after the night yesterday. So let's, and what should this liver inform you about? Shall it inform the whole day? I'm working, yes, I'm working, I'm producing this this chemical substance, and now the other. No, it should not. The liver should only inform you if there is something really serious wrong with it, and in time, if possible. So what does this mean now for the designing process? So let's have a look. So it's maybe it's about designing objects. So this is the way we did it yesterday. So we had a user, and we had objects, of course. And we designed the interaction with the object, and we designed the dialogue between user and object, so the man-machine relationship. Now we have the Internet of Things, and we concentrate very much on this interconnectability, on the dialogue between the objects and the interusability and all that stuff. But if you think back about the embodiment, and think back about Pandora, and that we are the IoT. So this would mean, and this is just to give one possible perspective, so that the user is not longer the user. The user is a human being, and you should know the human being. You should know the material of the human being, the anatomy, and the object is not the object. The object is the expanded me. And there is an intuitive link, like between your mind and your body, or your mind and objects. And you have to, as a designer, you design this intuitive link. So I tried to find some examples of this really weird theory. And well, I found some, and I named them nodes of the expanded me. So one is, and I deliberately have chosen not the button. So I prefer the Google Dash, because the Google Dash has more potential as an extended me. So the button is just a button, it's a tool. It might be nice for the moment, but the Dash extends my body. It's like a, I'm not sure, forgive me, I'm not a native speaker, so it's a magic wand. So it enables me to do things in a magical way. So it's a kind of expanded body and mind experience. So the next one is this here. It is the log barring, and this refers to what I said about our movement, and that movement that we need movement for our mind, and this ring makes the link between my mind and other objects in a very natural way. And I brought a little video about it. You definitely might know the log barring. There are other ring concepts, of course. Yeah, thank you for the music. So the interesting concept with the log barring is that you really can do natural gestures to manipulate processes and come to your target. So this means you can simply send the picture away. Of course, behind the curtain it's not that easy. You have to take the right gestures. Otherwise, you have to train the gestures, and you have to learn a second language, gesture language. But that's a very natural. That's a very natural process. And the last project I brought with me is the Juno project, so you might have seen this in the presentation in the exhibition hall. It's a project of 4 of our students. It is a project of, maybe you can just, they are here. So it's a project of Felix, Claudio, Raphael, and Sven. And so they said to me I should present it as a multi-sensoric concept for telepresence relationships. Did I do this good? Okay, fine. So I can come back in class afterwards. So this is a concept obviously for 2 people living in a distant partnership. And why I have chosen this is not only because they are my students. I've chosen that because I think this is a good concept, a good approach to enhancing my mind by my senses. And they really try to make use of all senses that can transport an idea and that can transport emotions. Juno is consisting of 2 objects, of 2 spheres. Every partner has 1 sphere, and it can transfer information about the state of mind of the person, about the mood of the person, about the presence, and about the reaction of the person. So maybe if you live or have ever lived in a long-distance relationship, you know how awful it can be to have those telephone calls with this silence every evening. Yeah. And you do this because otherwise, if you don't call her or him, you don't feel connected. And then there is this question in the room: why don't you call me anymore? Is there something wrong? And so this might be a good substitute or a good add-on to this dumpy telephone communication of couples. So they have these spheres are equipped with acoustic, motion, pulse, and tactile sensors. So depending on the situation of the respective partner, they send different signals. And I'll show you a little video afterwards, so I just give you the details now. So it obviously, of course, it has light to show the different states of emotion. So if there is a lot of silence or no movement in the room, so there is a neutral color, and it can transfer pulse frequency. So there are colors for frequency. There is a color for only one partner touches the sphere. So there is a signal at in the other sphere to be seen, or both partners simultaneously touch the screen. By the way, then there is a transportation of temperature as well. I told you it's going to be a little bit weird. So the students as well worked with sound, which is very important to my opinion, for transferring emotions, and it's a very much underestimated channel for our senses. And I try to give you a little example for the state if the pulse frequency is very low. Comparison the high pulse frequency. And as well, so motion inside the room is translated into ambient sound. So it's not like you spy your partner, or you leak your partner, so to listen into the room what he or she is doing now, the refrigerator, and again, so shall I give him a call not to eat too much? But it's a translation into sound. So the student thought about the metaphor of a candle, of a flickering candle. So when there is somebody moving in the room, so the candle flickers a little bit, and the closer you are to the candle, the more the fire flickers. So this is a kind of ideal for this object. So of course there are, as I said, it's not a spy tool. So there are zones in the room with different meanings. So you have a very intimate zone. So when both touch their spheres, they can even talk together. There is a personal zone. There is a social and a public zone. So that there is no need to feel observed by the partner. And last but not least. So the project is, to close the circle, the project is the trial to expand my mind to reach my partner in a long-distance relationship. So and I try to find out so if there is any, so in maybe as to support the conduct of code for the IoT. So what can we learn from this a little bit weird theory of we are the IoT? So maybe the first point is that we should turn users into humans and understand what they are, not what their use is. It's not direct enough. So what is a human being? And what is a human being in relationship to the whole IoT? The second is help the users to expand their minds and capacities, not just to do jobs. The third thing is so use the complete cognitive system and maybe refine it. So we talked about senses, but we are entering in a new form of living, so together with objects, maybe we can develop new kind of cognitive sensations. The fourth is treat the things like parts of the human organism, and then I think all questions will be answered. And the last point is design the organism and not the product. And last but not least, think about we are the IoT. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for a great presentation and giving like a lot of substance to the discussion. And I really like the Juno. And it's
me too.
Yeah, it's in the lobby to see and experience, I guess, right?
Yes, it's in the lobby. You can test it. You can experience it, and you can put all your questions regarding Juno to the students directly.
Are there any questions to Andrea Krajewski?
Hi, thank you. Very inspiring. Just a brief question: is there any of this research, what you did there, or what you talked about, related to science and technology studies, act and network theory? Because it just, for me, it seems to be connected.
Yeah. So it's really existing. So the philosophy of embodiment has a very long tradition, but they are still discussing, and it really gained new topicality with the topic IoT. So they refreshed their discussion. There is one very interesting philosopher, Markus Wild. He's from Vienna, I guess. I'm not sure about that. And he very much is engaged in the topic of the mind and the body and objects. Yeah. So it's not. I'm sorry, that's not that I presented it like this.
No, I didn't say no. It was just for me. I studied in that field, and for me, this was one of the first like real life, like where I could sense and make a connected to what's happening here, what's happening in real world. And
I
see. So
okay.
It was actually more of a compliment than saying you stole some idea or anything.
Thank you.